Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the meeting of the North Ogden City Council, a special meeting that we've called for this evening. We thank you for being here. Ask everyone to please turn your phones on silent or off during the meeting. Also, just a friendly reminder, we do live stream all our meetings and they're broadcast and archived on YouTube. The camera is up here and everything does go on to YouTube. So we'll begin, we don't have it on the agenda, but with invocation and then Pledge of Allegiance. We've asked two of our citizens who are here this evening, Mr. Randy Wynn, to first give the invocation, and then Mr. Dave Hume to lead the audience in the Pledge of Allegiance. After that, one of our former council members and planning commissioners as well. Mr. Wynn, please.
Our Father in heaven, we bow before thee this night to invoke thy Spirit to be with us at this meeting. We are grateful for the good citizens of this community who are gathered here and those that are willing to serve and help this community be better. We are met here for a specific reason, and we are mindful of our good mayor who will be serving overseas. We pray thy blessing to go with him. We are thankful for those, again, that are willing to serve. We pray thy Spirit will be here to help the decisions that are made here this night, and that thou will continue to be mindful of our city and bless us as thou hast done. These things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn and Mr. Hume. The agenda is pretty simple tonight. We are here to select, or the City Council is going to select, a temporary mayor for the next year. I wanted to just discuss the state code a little bit of what this is, so that might answer some questions that could come up. So Utah state law provides for a military leave of absence when elected officials are called to active full-time duty in the armed forces. And I've submitted a request for that after receiving an order to deploy. And the City Council has initiated this process for a temporary replacement. The qualifications for a temporary replacement, as the qualifications for an elected official in the first place, are pretty simple. Just need to meet the qualifications to hold office in the first place, which is to be 18 years old, a registered voter, and live within the boundaries of the city. Then be appointed before the day on which military leave begins, and I have requested military leave to begin on the 19th of this month, which will be the day I'll be departing. And then there's two options for appointing that official. And do we have the pointer, John? It is either in the same manner as prescribed for a midterm vacancy, if it's a registered political party that nominated the person, which is not the case here. So if we were at maybe a county where it's a partisan office, the political party of the officer leaving, they would choose the temporary replacement. In our case, city elections are nonpartisan, and so the political subdivision's governing body makes the decision to appoint someone after submitting an application. And so we opened an application process for that regard and then are met here tonight to make that decision. Those are all the requirements of state law. We've had in the past times when maybe a council member has to resign because they've moved, or recently Representative Fossen was elected to the legislature when he was a council member. And there's a different process for a permanent replacement that's a lot more complex. It's longer. It has to be posted for a 2-week period. There has to be public interviews of the candidates. The military leave process doesn't have all those same requirements for two reasons. One, this is a temporary replacement, not a permanent situation where the elected official has resigned for one reason or another and is being replaced for the rest of their term. And number two, the temporary replacement is replacing someone who's going to return at some point in the future when those orders, the military orders, end. The military leave law allows an elected official to have 400 days of military leave because it's planned for reservists and National Guard members who are limited by federal law to being deployed for 400 days. So someone could not, for example, join the active duty Army for 2 or 3 or 4 years and then come back. So it's designed for reservists and National Guardsmen like myself who are deployed for up to 400 days by federal law. That's the limit. So that's kind of where the law comes from. To be clear too, John, can we scroll down just a little? The temporary replacement has the full powers and duties of the office for which the temporary replacement was appointed for the duration of the original elected official's, me in this case, military leave. So the elected official, again, in this case myself, may not exercise the powers and duties of office. Everything is transferred to that temporary mayor in this case, or if it were a council member during the period of military leave. So there's no loss of any duties or powers or authorities. All of those go from me to the temporary mayor for the entire period of the military leave. And then there's a part of state law that the appointment must be made before the day in which military leave begins. So if we didn't, for some reason, make an appointment before the day I depart, then the state law says no person may exercise the powers and duties of that office. So clearly it's important that a person be appointed as the temporary mayor before that day of military leave beginning. Then a couple of the final requirements. Number 7, the governing body shall establish the distribution of the emoluments of office between the elected official and the temporary replacement, which is a nice way of saying emoluments, the pay benefits of office. So the governing body decides, how those will be split up. If they are being split up, in my case, I have no expectation at all that I'll be paid by the city. So you'll hear a recommendation on that after a temporary mayor has been appointed. But that is something that the governing body has to render a decision on. And then lastly, item B is an application form and the date by which an interested person would need to apply for the position. Excuse me. So when we made the announcement that this was happening, we had an emergency city council meeting that morning in order for the governing body, the members of the city council, to authorize a date by which those applications had to come in and approve an application. So that's the process we've used. And then lastly, item 8, an elected official who's called to full-time duty before the date that this legislation became effective is also considered on military leave. This law was initiated in 2011 after a Provo City Councilwoman who was a member of the Army Reserves was called to active duty, and there was no procedures in place, and so the legislature made this law and backdated it to that date in 2011. So that is a summary I just thought would be helpful for our audience and our council members. Again, are there any questions at all, council members, on any of that going over the state law?
Just a comment. From what I understand, we don't have to appoint a temporary mayor. We can have a pro temp mayor and the city council. But
Correct.
Of course, just so everybody knows, we don't want to do that.
Councilman Turner is correct. So if the council chose not to, then the mayor's office specifically would be vacant, but a member of the city council would be appointed, the mayor pro tem, which is the mayor in the absence of the mayor, and to exercise the powers of the mayor. Any other comments or discussion or questions on the state law? Or John, anything you'd like to add upon or discuss?
No, I think you've hit it right on the head, and then as identified, it is a council decision. It's, they can make their minds up however they feel.
So with that, council, I'm just going to make you a recommendation and then open up for whatever discussion you'd like to proceed as you feel most appropriate. So there's a memo you have in front of you that I've written. I'm putting it up here just so the audience and citizens here can see it as well. There are some copies. I am personally recommending we had some outstanding candidates for this that I think are highly qualified leaders who would do a great job. I appreciate all the citizens who are willing to step forward and do something like this. I'm recommending Brent Chugg for your consideration, council members, as you get into that discussion. He has a great history of service with the city and a long track record of effective executive leadership, and is now retired from his career and able to serve. He was the volunteer project manager for the Public Works facility that North Ogden built, and I think that's the biggest reason for me. If we all remember, that many of us were on the council at that time. It was a time a lot of differences of opinion in the city, a lot of strong opinions, and he was a consensus pick kind of both sides of that debate to be the chairman for that committee and then for that project. And he really helped reduce tensions and did something that seemed impossible, which was bring everyone together on that committee to build a beautiful facility for our city. Under budget, it was on time, it's working great, and I think that is why, my personal recommendation among some very qualified people is Brent Chugg. And he's also got many years of executive leadership experience, managing large projects and budgets. And because he's done so much history and projects with the city, I feel like he'd be able to enter right into service and continue a positive climate. So I just wanted to give you my personal thoughts on it, having looked at these applications of wonderful people. And then now, council members, turn the discussion over for you for if you'd like to ask any of the applicants questions, any discussion, any thoughts, questions. Who'd like to begin? Councilman Swanson.
I'll start. I want to start by saying the applicants that we have are absolutely amazing. It's kind of, you read through the resumes and it's a who's who of man alive. You expect good people to apply, but as you look through these resumes, Colonel Belton, wow, what a background you have. Brent, what a background. And leadership and service to community and country. It is, I was astounded at the qualifications that these two gentlemen bring. My selection would be Brent Chugg, simply because I have a background with Brent in working on the Public Works Committee and seeing how he worked there. Your qualifications are, wow, spit and polish. It's amazing. But I've seen how Brent works with the employees, how he's worked with very diverse sides of a very contentious issue in the city at one point, and it was no small task and no small undertaking and no small accomplishment to bring the diverse sides of the public works spectacle together to come up with and to build the great I just want to reiterate, the qualifications of both are just off the charts, absolutely off the charts. And it is certainly no discredit to you, Colonel, that my favor heads towards Brent Chugg at this moment, simply because of the experience that I've had and that I've seen with him. So I would recommend, my recommendation would be that we follow the mayor's preference and choose Brent Chugg. But those are my feelings.
Councilwoman Fossen.
I also was totally impressed reading the resumes, and there's some really great leadership qualities for both of these gentlemen that would really help our city move forward while our mayor is serving the country for us. So honestly, I love the organizational skills of Colonel Belton, and wow, I was so impressed. But I kind of have a feeling, as we talked about this, number one, we had an option to not make this an open application process, and I appreciate that the mayor was open to that. He could have just given us a recommendation without an open application process, and I think opening it up, for even though it was a short period of time, because we're limited, if we maybe didn't discuss this, but if we didn't select someone before the mayor is deployed, we lose the opportunity to select someone, and so then we're stuck with the option of not having a mayor and just using a mayor pro tem for the entire year that he is gone. And so opening it up for application and publishing it in the newspaper, doing a little press release and everything, was the best we could do to get it out quickly. And what an awesome response. It's good to have good people who are willing to serve. A lot of times we have a shortage of people who are willing to show up and say, I'll volunteer for that. So I commend you both for being willing to do that. I also feel that the mayor was elected and has some objectives set out for his term. He was pretty clear when he was elected that him being deployed was a very likely possibility. We talked about that at the Meet the Candidates night. And out of respect for the mayor and his wanting to hold his place in a way that he feels that he comes back into a favorable situation, I will give preference to Mayor Taylor's selection. That's my thoughts. Even though I think they're both awesome.
Put their names in the hat.
There were a number of others who considered it and didn't, but 2 actually applied. Councilman Turner.
So I don't know Brent very well. I know who he is, and I have to defer to these good folks and what I've heard about Brent, because I just don't know him very well. But I know Gary very well, and when I actually saw that Gary had applied, I was excited. Because honestly, this is he's a hero for me. I mean, he's a great guy, and he would do a fantastic job. Honestly, that's who I would nominate. But I will support who this council decides 100%, because because I don't know Brent very well, I trust the mayor's recommendations, and I would support him 100% also. Just because I think that the mayor, and Sarah mentioned it, he knows him real well, and knows what caliber and what he'll do for us. And I don't think it's a knock on Gary at all, because I know Gary, and I'll tell you, he's a stud. Can you say stud in city council meeting? So maybe that's not the appropriate word. He's a great guy. Scratch that from the notes. So. But anyway, and thank you so much for both of you for being willing. And I just ask, I'd love to hear from both of them. Just a few words anyway. And I just want both of you to know that I appreciate you wanting to serve, and please let us use you in future. If either of you who don't, whoever doesn't get to have this opportunity, let us use you for other things, because this is a great community. And when I very first got on the city council, I was elected and started my first term in 2008. And the whole reason I wanted to is I wanted to get more involved. And I became a politician, and that's stupid. But anyway, but that's why, because I didn't know any better. And I've enjoyed it. And I have met so many great people. And Gary and Brent, you guys are going to have a great opportunity in the future for sure anyway. So that's where I'm at.
Councilwoman Stoker.
I think it's commendable that you would even put your name on the dotted line. I mean, anybody who will step out and apply or sign up, put in a resume to serve, I think that's just commendable, because it takes a lot of decisions, you know, some thought of what you're going to get into and if you really want to do this job. But it is very rewarding, and thank you for even wanting to step up and serve too. Like everybody else has said, it is outstanding in your service. Thank you for that too. I was part of the, I guess could say the contention with the Public Works. And
So was I.
yes, you were. And we'll leave it at that.
So was I.
Yes, you were too. But Brent did a really good job of bringing us all together and just kind of mellowed us all out, and we could talk and come to agreement. And so I too would just go with the mayor's recommendation, because I've seen how Brent works, and again, thank you for both of you.
You have to say something.
Councilman Severing.
I just wanted to mention as well that when I first threw my hat in the ring to run for city council, it was amazing how many people said to me, "Are you sure you really want to get involved in that circle of politics?" And having had an opportunity to serve on the planning commission, I found it to be very rewarding, though there were moments when it was very tense as decisions were being rendered here in the city. And so when I considered when Mayor Taylor talked to the city council about this potential and the realization that we were going to have to ask for applicants, those who would be willing to throw themselves into this this circumstance, I sat back and wondered who would be willing to do this. And as I reviewed both of these applications, I echo what others on the city council have said. Both of you men are absolutely incredible. And I have to confess that I've had more experience in my lifetime with Brent Chugg, and I know that he was involved greatly with the Public Works building. And because that was a difficult time here in the city, I know that he was able to smooth many of the feelings and the relationships that were maybe hurt, and I'm grateful for that time frame that Brent was able to do that. So my recommendation, Mayor, would be Brent Chugg as well, but also indicating that Colonel Belton certainly has nothing to do with qualifications, has everything to do with just the fact that I know Brent Chugg a little bit longer and was just so impressed with his capacity as the director of the Public Works process.
Mayor, with that, I'll make a motion. Council, you ready?
Yes.
I'll make a motion then that we appoint Brent Chugg to serve as temporary mayor pursuant to Utah Code 20A-1-513, as we've discussed.
Can we hear from the two of them first?
If you would like to, council, we could. That's, like I say, it's not required, but it's absolutely up to you. Permissible.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'd love to hear from him, just because I'd love.
Yeah, let's do it.
But I didn't care if it
Okay.
happened.
I'll withdraw my motion and ask that they
Okay.
come forward.
Okay, let's ask Colonel Belton first. If you'd like to share anything with the city council, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, let me begin by saying no one's more surprised I'm standing here tonight than anyone else. It's rather interesting 3 days to consider throwing my hat in the ring and offering services. I would say that whoever is selected, it's a great honor to be considered and among your fellow citizens to have somebody have that amount of respect and admiration for what you can possibly bring. So I appreciate the opportunity very much. I mentioned in some of the questions that are answered that I was very fortunate to have two careers, two successful careers, one in healthcare and one in military. And at this point, I have no burning desire to march off onto a new career or any political ambitions. But I do believe very much in the idea of service. I came to the United States when I was 8 years old. My parents and my family immigrated from Canada, and it was a rather, not a major change, considering some countries, but nonetheless enough of a change. But early on, I felt that this was my country and I wanted to be part of it. Ironically, is rather interesting because as I was growing up, in college is right in the Vietnam era, and I was one of those fortunate few, if you would, that having dual citizenship, I could have simply gone back to Canada, say thank you very much, and not have a problem. But I decided if I'm going to live here, then I need to be part of the country I'm living in and to serve where possible. So over the years, I've had that opportunity. I regret I've not had more opportunity to work with you, so you might have an understanding of some of the things that I could provide, but undoubtedly you're making a very wise choice, so I support you in that. But again, I just appreciate the opportunity of being considered, and if I can serve in some capacity, please feel free to let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Belton.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel.
Mr. Chug.
Well, City Council, I appreciate the confidence expressed here this evening. It's great to be with you. And I thought of, in regard to this particular position, that if the mayor is out there serving our country, I ought to be able to do something to help out. So that's the reason that I applied. And I was raised in Cache Valley on a farm many years ago, and I'm married. I have 5 boys and 16 grandchildren, and we love and appreciate each one of those. I graduated from Utah State University, so I'm blue clear through and through, and I've had a long career, 50 years experience. That tells you I'm old. Excuse me. 50 years experience with large operations, and so it would be great to apply my talents and, excuse me, and help out wherever I possibly can. I'll tell you, Mayor, I'll be praying for your safe return, and especially in this particular position. And I've enjoyed working with Mayor Taylor. He's an awesome man, and as well as the council. Things are going great here in North Ogden. The city is booming, if I can say that word. It's moving forth in a real progressive way. And it would be my desire to keep it going in that direction and add whatever I can to make it move forward in a positive way. I thank you all and appreciate the opportunity of working with you, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chug. Council members, is there more discussion, or how would you like to proceed?
Mayor, I'll move then that we appoint Brent Chug as temporary mayor pursuant to Utah Code 20A-1-513.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Brent Chug as the temporary mayor. Is there any further discussion? Start the voting with Councilwoman Stoker,
Yes.
Councilman Swanson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fossen,
Yes.
Councilman Severing,
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
I always want to say Councilman Blake. Sorry about that. So,
That works too.
okay, thank you. And council, I'm going to recommend that we discuss with Mr. Chug the salary and then bring that as a motion next week, as I will still be here as the mayor next Tuesday night during our public city council meeting, and have that second piece of this, the emoluments of office, as a discussion point then. So we have a chance to talk about that with him. Councilman Swanson?
Mayor, there are two things that I'd ask that we add to or this evening. One, Senator Mike Lee has sent Ryan Wilcox here on his behalf with a presentation, and I'd like to give him a couple of minutes to do that. And then being a public meeting, I'd like us to have some public comments at the end.
Absolutely.
So if we could turn
Both
some
would be
time over to
appropriate.
Ryan Wilcox.
We need to have a motion to add those, or
I think that would be in order, yeah. Okay. So is that a motion to add those two items?
It's a motion to add
Nice
those two
second.
items.
Councilwoman Fossen seconds, so we have adding a presentation from Senator Lee's office, Mr. Ryan Wilcox, and public comments as well. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of adding those two items, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. First is a letter from the Senator that he asked me to present tonight. Brent Taylor, Mayor, North Ogden City, Utah. Dear Mayor Taylor, I'd like to present you with this flag to thank you for your service, not only for our country, but also to the city of North Ogden. My hope is that this flag will serve as a reminder of the love, support, and prayers coming to you and your fellow soldiers from the people of Utah. I'm grateful for Utahns like yourself who carry our flag into harm's way for the cause of freedom. This flag was flown over the United States Capitol in honor of Mayor Brent Taylor, the Utah Army National Guard. With deep respect, Michael S. Lee, Senator, United States, Utah. It also includes a certificate certifying the flying of the flag, and asked me to present that to you tonight. So more than that, Brent, Mayor Taylor, it's on a personal level, I helped write that law that is being used tonight that allows you to do this, and to have to be able to have a friend do use that. To be able to serve our country and our community simultaneously is personally gratifying, and I just know it's a lot of people praying for you as you do this, and we appreciate your service. And I'm not supposed to cry when I speak, so I'm not going to anymore. But if you'd accept this, I've kept it in the box so I didn't mess it up in my car, but if you'd come down, that'd be great. I know, you'll get a hug, but I want to show it to you. And do it the right way. You can have the box, but it just didn't feel right to hand you a box, Brent. Okay. What's that?
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Stuff like that always makes me feel uncomfortable, but I wanted to say one thing. 2 days ago, there was an unknown number, a number I didn't recognize, calling me, and, it was Senator Mike Lee personally calling me to, took the time out of his day in the middle of this session of the greatest deliberative body in the world, to make a personal phone call. So that was really impressive. And we have a great Northern Utah office director for Senator Lee in Ryan Wilcox, who used to be the House representative for most of our city and did a great job. And we were sad to see him go, but is now doing great things with Senator Lee. So just want to mention that and tell you thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll open the public comments. If there's anyone that would like to share anything with the City Council, we would invite you forward at this time. We just ask for your name and address at the start of your comments.
My name's Julie Smith. My address is 835 East, 3350 North here in Ogden, North Ogden. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank our amazing mayor and city council. Too often we only bring them problems and don't take the time to thank them for their effort, for their time. I don't think we appreciate what it involves to do the jobs that they do. I love it when the mayor puts his videos out and his statements, and you get it when he's out with the snow shovels and the snow plows and the leaf gatherers and all the things that go on to keep our city safe and beautiful. And you go so far above and beyond. So I just want to say I join in everyone in thanking you for the amazing efforts that you've put in, how much you love our city and our country. And thank you for caring about all the people, not just the rich ones that can kind of help you, but about everybody, those that are in need. You have stood up for those that needed a champion. So thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Bob Buswell, 962 East, 3025 North. I've known the Colonel because he was in Kiwanis. I know the Brent Chugg because he was a state president that I had. And I just want to know, I think they're both great individuals, and I'm sure the Colonel will be available if you feel like he could do a certain job for the city. And I'd like to thank Brent Taylor for his work and wish him the best like everybody else does. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buswell.
Dave Hume, 513 East, 1700 North. I was kind of hoping we might get the first female mayor, but I guess your wife probably has to take care of the kids while we're gone. And she would have been eminently qualified. I hope that that while you're gone, that you and she know that me personally, and I know the rest of the members of the community would be happy to do anything they can. I know that one of the reasons you feel uncomfortable with that kind of attention from the senator is because you're a good officer. And a good officer gives credit to his subordinates when something goes right and takes the blame when it doesn't. And I really have appreciated the way that you have stood out in my mind, you and your wife both, in helping the members of the military that are in less fortunate positions, that the ones that are enlisted particularly. And I'm grateful for your service to them in this community, and for your leadership as an officer. And I wish you Godspeed, and I'm grateful for your service here and your service to the country as well. And I'll just have to say, because you're in the Army, Semper Fi, and good luck. So,
thank you, Mr. Hume, and thank you for you and your wife's service in the Marine Corps, which is a pretty good group as well.
Glenn Donaldson, 874 East, 2100 North. Had the opportunity today to meet with a childhood friend of ours at a funeral of another friend of ours, and he told me to tell you, hello, thank you, you're the best mayor in the northern state of Utah, and that comes from Mayor Willard Cragen from Roy. And Will says, tell him that, will you? I just want to add that serving your country is a great opportunity, not everyone gets a chance to do that. They can take it. I served in the National Guard during Korea, and it was an opportunity to serve. And I never had to go to battle, but it was a great opportunity, and so I respect your position. And may I invoke the Lord's blessings upon you, that you'll be out of harm's way and return back to us unscathed to fulfill your assignments here as Mayor of North Ogden. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson, and thank you for your years of service also as our representative as well. Okay, seeing no others, council members, do any of you have any closing comments?
I do.
Councilwoman Fossen.
Mayor, I just wanted to express my appreciation for you. I have been in Jenny's position before and sent my husband off to where you're going and some other places also. And I have to say that having a community that is willing to put their arms around the family makes a big difference. And you're kind of in a public position, so we have a lot of people who serve in our community. So to the good people of North Ogden, this is a good opportunity for service. And the service that I received when my husband was deployed was deeply meaningful to me and taught my family about patriotism in a way that they could have learned no other way. So we will be praying for you and your family, and we will do what we can to help take care of them while you're gone. And I hope that gives you comfort, and I hope that helps you to do your mission well. And we are happy to work on things while you're gone, and we'll do the best we can.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm more worried about it going so smoothly you won't want me back here in a year, so. Okay, seeing Councilman Turner.
I just got the best post I saw on your Facebook, and I don't Facebook, but very often, and I went to his page just because I was curious on what was posted and stuff, and one of the best lines I saw on there was somebody, I think he lived in Sandy, said, "Come back and run for president." And I thought, that's awesome, just because we need a patriot. So thanks for your service.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you all for the kind comments. They're over the top, undeserved, and I appreciate it. Appreciate the prayers and well wishes and all the kind comments, especially from my family. And I think it's just important to remember too, even though I'm in a public position, so it's a little, well, it's more noticeable. There's a lot of other great Americans who are doing this, a lot in this room, husbands in this room, families who've gone through it that do this. And so, one of many, many Americans who do these kind of things for our country, and it's good to remember them all and pray for them all as well. So thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Then we are adjourned.
I've never heard anybody oppose that motion. Oh, yeah. I did see that, yeah. I think it was.
I saw your text. I was at the temple.